We're getting ready. It's the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. Do we see green? We sure do. And it's a kind of jumbled up field as Joseph Newgarden takes the green. But look at the rest of the pack. They're already a straightaway behind.
Kind of shocking. Guys like Graham Rahal about a half a lap behind at this point as the yellow flag is displayed going down to turn 3.
I'm not sure how the yellow was displayed before any cars went by, but three-wide action down into turn 3. You talked about this in the pre-race, Townsend. Side by side, Scott McLaughlin and Scott Dixon.
Dixon's been overtaken by Rossi as well.
This is a proud hockey town, so watch for the hip check right here as they come to the left-hander, turn 5. They start to go single file.
Word from race control, clean start, disregard the yellow. Rinus VeeKay on the inside of his teammate Connor Daly in that orange Bitcoin car.
Clear.
That's a brave move this early in the race. It's so easy for the driver being passed not to expect that and have contact, but heads up driving for Connor, who's coming back now on the outside into turn 7.
Daly flirts to the outside but tucks back in. Meanwhile, there's Santino Ferrucci in that green-white Hukos Hollinger car stepping in for the injured Callum Ilott.
Behind him, the reigning champion, Alex Palou, starting on those primary black sidewalled Firestone tires. These are going to be a little bit slower on these first few laps as we see racing up front. Scott McLaughlin, Rossi making these charges. We talked about this, Townsend.
Happy fast Rossi today. He is by McLaughlin and now has Indy 500 winner Marcus Ericsson straight ahead. Nice move.
Got by Dixon, got by McLaughlin on the charge. Is Alexander Rossi, who's made up 2 positions since the start. Newgarden is comfortable. There he is there. You pick up Simon Pagenaud and Elio Castro Neves. We didn't really talk a whole lot in the pre-race show about Meyer Shank Racing. They had a terrific qualifying yesterday.
Look at Rossi.
Here's Rossi again on Ericsson.
Wow.
It's just like each corner he's picking off another car. He's on an absolute charge, driving like a man possessed right now. He was very frustrated after qualifying, and he's showing there's a lot more pace in this blue and pink Auto Nation.
This is the Alexander Rossi we remember from a couple years ago. Dominant at Long Beach, dominant at Road America. It feels like Rossi has a car today to charge to the front. Riding on board here. Bold moves in the opening laps. He's really the only one making moves like that.
But he's got to take care of those tires. We see Graham Rahal, big damage to the right rear.
Yeah, it's pretty towed in there. Just be careful.
Be careful. The United Rentals Honda is heavily damaged. What happened to Graham?
Turn 2. Oh, you can see the car heaved up in the air, then squatted down. The rear tire pressure still looked pretty low, and it just hooked up and jumped out on him. This is on board with McLaughlin. I think we're going to see Rossi. No, this is inside Dixon.
That was earlier in the race. Nice move there. That was before Alexander Rossi arrived on the scene. There's Rossi as he got by Scott Dixon, and Graham Rahal is wounded.
He's got to be careful. That's in turn 7. He's going to take the shortcut through turn 7 all the way to turn 11 to get to the pits quicker, Dave.
The man of the moment so far, Alexander Rossi, up 5 positions.
It just lost one. Oh, I think Alexander Rossi may have jumped into pit lane.
He did. He did.
All right, so he's going for the aggressive 3-stopper. He's in now. He's putting the black sidewall tires on, Dave.
Yep, and they didn't scuff any of them. These will be all new for the 27 today. Talked to Brian Barnhart, the strategist. I asked him, we thought the car had more speed than what it showed on the chart in qualifying. He said it is a rocket, and you've seen Alexander already showing that.
Scott Dixon, who was the first one within the top 14 cars to start on the primary Firestone tires, those harder black wall tires. He continues to see another person go by, but he's on a different strategy to Will Power, who was the latest to whip on by.
Yeah, but Will Power actually did also start on the primary tires back in 16th, so he is moving through the field aggressively as we look at Will Power here making a move on Connor Daly. Connor's in the middle of the track into turn 3 trying to defend, but a late pop. Wow, almost already at their turn-in point.
I don't think Power was planning on that when he first applied the brake pedal, but as he drew closer to the back of Connor Daly, the world sort of opened up.
I think Connor maybe checked up a little bit for Rinus VeeKay in front and just opened the door for Will Power.
We'll be watching the lap times closely of the leaders, Newgarden and Pagenaud, Marty, to see when the advantage with the red tires might be falling off.
We are 8 laps into this 70-lap race. Here comes Scott Dixon on Colton Herta.
And Will Power there in the red Verizon car, and Scott Dixon in the orange and blue car, both on the harder black tires, and we're already at the crossover point. You can see everybody struggling on the reds, like Takuma Sato, like Colton Herta. The black tired cars are coming forward.
Guys, if we look at Alexander Rossi's lap times, he was the first of the lead cars to go off the red sidewall, softer tires onto those primary black sidewall tires. His last lap time was a 16.8. Joseph Newgarden in the lead on those red tires was a 120.2.
And you only lose 24 seconds as Kyle Kirkwood comes forward on the black tires. Marcus Ericsson there in the red-white car is really struggling right now to hang on to his car. You only lose 24 seconds on pit lane. So you only need about 6 laps for it to make up. This could turn to the favor of the 3-stoppers today.
Another one.
Power goes.
Power gets by another one. That was Simon Pagenaud, his old Team Penske teammate. He's up to second and chasing his teammate down.
It won't be long, Diff, as Dixon continues to go forward.
Whose strategy do you like the best? And let's not forget about Alexander Rossi, the first of the front runners to dive to the pits, get off those softer compound red wall Firestones, and now Rossi has worked his way back up to 11th. We'll continue to monitor him. There's a new race leader, and this threesome are surging forward. It's headed by Will Power in the Verizon Chevy. He gets by his teammate Joseph Newgarden. Scott Dixon was next, and then Alex Palou. Those 3 guys who all started on the primary Firestone tires are surging.
Dixon moving by easily as Newgarden is just trying to manage average pace. This is like in sports car racing. If you're in GT, it feels like a prototype's passing you. Newgarden on that softer tire right now, just trying to hang on and minimize time loss at this point, not trying to defend.
It was 3, yeah, exactly right. Not defending, trying to, as you say, kind of stop the bleeding. It was still a 3-second loss on the last lap alone. Joseph Newgarden, he is hoping he can come into the pits. If not this lap, maybe just one more, as we see Kyle Kirkwood ahead of him now. He is just struggling so hard.
And there's Rossi. He's made the pass on Newgarden, so at this point in the race, the 3-stop is the better strategy.
Yeah, because the guys leading right now, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, they started on those primary tires. They're still going to have to do this stint, a long stint on the Firestone Reds, Dave.
Castro Neves is in. He had fallen back to 15th from his good starting spot in the second row there. They'll switch to the blacks at this point.
His drive last week was spectacular. There's Pato O'Ward and the 60 of Simon.
McLaughlin is off.
The Gallagher Chevrolet sideways at turn 3. He's kept the motor going, fires it up.
Oh, just clips the left front in the fence. He'll try to find reverse. He knows he's losing precious seconds on the racetrack at speed. Listen.
You hear that grinding. That's the reverse gear trying to get in. He's telling him to go to emergency mode. He's found it now. He was very quick to getting reverse. Oh, it didn't go in. He's making that switch.
That's the thumbs are working furiously. It's the worst sound in IndyCar, the grinding gearbox under green conditions, as now everybody gets ready on pit lane.
The emergency mode, it essentially overrides some of the electronic safety, so that way he can do something the computer doesn't want him to do, which is force that gear in, as Joseph Newgarden is in the pits. Marty Snyder.
Boy, and that happened in the middle of all the leaders trying to come down pit road that are on the alternate tires. See Joseph Newgarden, that car absolutely losing speed every lap. I think this 2-stop group with our alternate tires, they weren't thinking they were going to lose 5 seconds a lap to those on primary tires. Pat O'Ward also pitting, as well as Colton Herta back out on the racetrack. We'll see where all this cycles out.
All right, let's take you back and show you what happened to the Gallagher Chevrolet of Scott McLaughlin at the end of this long straight into turn 3. There's Jack Harvey on the inside. Huge lockup from the Kiwi.
We talked about the bumps here in Detroit. That was just hitting the wrong bump at the wrong time, locked up that inside front. Look how quickly he tried to get it sideways, found reverse, but unfortunately it didn't work out for him. Let's ride on board, just listen. You heard that as it skips on the floor.
And the other issue, guys, is where does the rubber go from the Firestone Reds onto the racetrack in the form of marbles? So at this point in the race, with all the degradation, there is that spent rubber, and I think McLaughlin was also a little further left, being side by side, got his left front in the marbles, and that led to the lockup.
Dave, what did you observe in the Rossi stop?
A nice stop and a new set of primary tires from Firestone. No scuff on them. They are brand spanking new.
Out in front of his old mate, Connor Daly, and did he hit the wall?
Came really close, if not hitting the wall. He battles Daly. Cold tires for Rossi.
And that's very important for Alexander Rossi. Oh no, he's locked up. He's going to keep it going, but he really needs to have strong out laps to try to catch that.
Good job, bud.
But he's still in a good position because the cars that were in front of him, he pitted from 4th. Power, Dixon, Palou, they still all have a stint on the alternates where he can be up to 3-4 seconds a lap faster. He just needs to stay calm here. He is in a great position right now.
Will Power coming down pit road after leading 11 laps. So here's the debate. Do you go with your alternate tires? Hence, you made the point you're going to have to pay the price on that at some point today. Or you go with the primaries. Will Power going with the primaries, taking a page from his teammate Joseph Newgarden's playbook last year. They will have to run the alternates on the last stint of the day for Power. That's going to be interesting because we've seen how quickly those fall off.
But look at the fuel mileage that Will Power got.
Over Kyle
26
Kirkwood.
laps over a guy like Kirkwood. And look who's still on the track. Scott Dixon and Alex Palou.
Hey, why are you acting surprised?
Yeah. Fuel-saving master. Dixon knows the further you can stretch this stint, the shorter, once again, you need to do on the reds.
So, a few moments ago, there was something unfortunate happened with Helio Castro-Neves. Dave Burns can tell us more.
Yep, he sits on pit road, Lee silent. As we see, oh man, that was close. On pit road sits Helio Castro-Neves for about 5 minutes now. Listen to his radio explain.
Yeah, something's wrong with the dash. The car's not shifting gears either.
Yeah, we see it. Just keep going. We're looking at it. If it's undrivable, we can pit and change the steering wheel.
They've tried swapping out the steering wheel. It's still not right for Helio. Meanwhile, Scott Dixon is in. The reds go on. Remember, he started on the blacks. This will suffice for his use of the new reds, Marty.
Alex Palou coming down pit road. The Ganassi guys trying to pull one out of the hat here in Detroit. They haven't really had the pace all weekend long, but the strategy might work out for them. They're going with alternate sticker tires as well. He flashes out right behind his teammate Scott Dixon. So all of these different strategies, Tiff, they're going to play out over this run. It is raining here. Look at that radar. Rain is starting to come down here on pit road. So why not? Let's just add something else to the mix here early on.
Yeah, these guys don't have enough going on, Tad, so let's throw a little bit of rain at them, spice this thing up a bit.
It's raining harder now as well, so this is going to get interesting quick.
There's been sprinkles throughout the day, but nothing threatening. How badly is it going to fall? How badly will it impact this race? And who's going to be in the right place at the right time?
Townsend, here's the game for Will Power. We mentioned that his teammate Joseph Newgarden played this exact strategy last year. Used both sets of primaries on the first two stops of the day, the first two runs of the day, and then saved the alternates for the very end of the race. The theory is Power's going to try and build as big of a gap as he can, as you see Ron Rzuski, his strategist, looking on right now. So here's the game. This run, critical for Will Power. How much of a gap can he build to Scott Dixon and Alex Palou? And then how little time do they have to spend on the reds at the end of the race? Those are going to be the two key questions if he gets back to victory lane here in Detroit.
Problem for Will Power, Marty, is that the gap to Rossi is actually shrinking, apples to apples on black tires. So right now, it's not playing out to Power's favor.
And I think Will Power is going to stretch this run, Townsend, as far as they can. Ron Rzuski's going to keep him out till lap 50 if it'll work out for them and do as little time on those alternate tires as they can. Rossi making a move, Diff.
Nice inside move into turn 3. There is no stopping Alexander Rossi today.
That was a great decisive move right when Rossi needed to make it. He does not have time to linger in dirty air, James, behind Scott Dixon now. He's got to do the exact same thing. The question is, will Dixon defend more aggressively than his younger teammate Palou just did?
Yeah, he knows that Alex Palou is fighting in the championship battle right here. Look at this. He pulls out, like you say, very decisive. Alex doing exactly, Palou. We got two Alexes here. Palou doing exactly what we've seen of him, making those good decisions, taking care of his race car.
Will Power knows his race is on the line right now. They keep imploring him, push as hard as you can, and he's been extremely aggressive. And there you see how the gap has built almost 5 seconds in just a handful of laps. So Will Power knows he needs to run as far as he can, but also put down the lap times right now because he has to go to those alternates at the end of this race, and he knows he'll have to hang on at that point.
Newgarden 5th, though, Ward 6th, and they dive for the pits at the same time. Dave Burns.
And just ahead of them, Scott Dixon, his pit road. He has to get those red tires off. Blacks going on to the 9 car. Marty.
Good
Joseph Newgarden Pato Award. We were on board as they both came to pit road at the same exact time, so these pit stops are going to happen pretty close to one another. That's going to be an interesting duel here on pit road, both going to the primary tires once again. Now Newgarden and his team and all the Team Penske cars scuffed in all their primary sets of tires, so that should be a little bit of an advantage here on this outlap.
Guys, they came in together, they left together. That was synchronized pit stops right there from the crews of the 2 and the 5. Great stuff all around. And this outlap is going to be key.
So that's Newgarden, that's Award, and that is Alex Palou on hot tires, and Takuma Sato.
Oh,
Sato looking up the inside.
That's at turn 3. It's a real hot spot here at Belle Isle.
That was great work from Palou to keep Takuma Sato behind him. Now he's got to work on Award, who's on cold tires.
And Palou's got to be careful. Sato still has to make his final stop, but this right here is going to be a battle to the finish.
And good work from the Ganassi crew too, the PNC Bank Honda crew, who got Dixon out ahead of Newgarden and Palou, so keeping that advantage. As we're cycling towards the last set of stops, we've gone caution-free. Here comes Rossi.
That's the right call, so we'll watch this pit stop, and then we'll keep an eye as he adjusts the rear bias, Dave, for the pit stop. Where's Scott Dixon? He'll be coming.
And note that Alexander Rossi made a lot of that move forward because of the overtake. He's used a lot of that, won't have as much at the end of the race. Will that matter? Primary tires again for him. Start of the day is on the alternate. Third pit stop for Rossi, and he's gone.
Good clean stop from the number 27 Auto Nation Napa crew for Andretti Autosport. Now Rossi really has to get up on the wheel, use a bit of that push to pass on this outlap to get up to speed as quickly as possible. Let's look for Dixon.
There goes Rossi. Where's Scott Dixon? He should just be exiting turn 2. There's Dixon, orange and blue car. Rossi on cold tires.
Big look up down there into turn 3. Who was ahead of Rossi?
That was Rinus VeeKay on track, but Alexander Rossi is going to be at a deficit here for about half a lap to Scott Dixon until those primary firestones come into temperature.
So now for Will Power, 23 laps left in this race. Power's going to hang on, and I think going to go 5 or 6 more laps before he pits for those reds.
He's got to remember, Townsend told us earlier, 19 laps for Joseph Newgarden on the initial stint on those softer red wall Firestone Firehawk tires. This is going to be the question. The pace of these guys, Rossi and Dixon, and then the fall-off factor for Will Power when he goes onto those softer tires. How long will they hang in for? How dramatically will they fall off on the closing laps?
Kirkwood will give up second position. Now remember, he has to go to the fresh alternate tires, has not used them yet today, has a reasonable amount of push to pass as well remaining in that car. One of the front wing change. Guys, you got to change that car right when you put on the alternates.
Yeah, and you got to watch out for this guy, Alexander Rossi. As you see, Kyle Kirkwood just exiting pit lane, and it looks like Rossi will be comfortably ahead of Kirkwood. So Kirkwood's going to finish on those reds. There's Kirkwood. Rossi way ahead.
That's a big grind too. 22 laps on those Firestone reds. We'll see how that works out for the Rocket Chevrolet driver, for AJ Foyt, as he's into a braking duel with Simon Pagenaud, the sole remaining Maya Shank Auto Nation Sirius XM Honda. Will Power leads by a huge margin, and that was a big moment for Kirkwood. He almost ended up in the wall. Let's have another look at it. Yeah,
you can see the left rear is severely towed out. Kirkwood was on the radio in the brakes, said I got into the fence with the left rear. Big correction and a tank slapper.
You could see physically the A-arm bend.
Yeah, that's going to end his race. As the AJ Foyt crew members can't believe it. What a day they were having, comfortably running in the top 5, the top 3 at that point. As Will Power, Marty, he's going to have to go 20 laps on reds to the finish.
Yeah, the leader Will Power coming down pit road, as you mentioned. Townsend going to have 20 laps on these alternate tires, and that will be the longest we've seen anyone run all day long. The important number to remember, 21.5. That was the gap he had to Alexander Rossi when he came down pit road. Will almost stalled it leaving his pit stall. He's going to have a huge lead here, but can he hang on for these final 20 laps on tires that will fall off very quickly?
All right, this is it. This is the story of the race. Will Power up against Alexander Rossi and Scott Dixon. The race to home, but can Power hang in there when we get up to laps 68, 69, and 70? What are these tires going to look like?
And for Will Power, he's got a little bit of lot of breathing room here, especially because Rossi has to clear Dalton Kellett up ahead And Rossi needs to make really quick work here at Kellett in that K-Line car.
It's exactly what you don't want to see. This is a disaster for Alexander Rossi, but great news for Will Power up ahead. It's going to be at least 2 more corners before Rossi can attempt to pass.
And Rossi wants to save push to pass. He doesn't want to have to use it here for Kellett. But Kellett gets a great exit and has good traction. Kellett just recently did a pit stop as well, so he's on fresh tires.
All right, with 20 to go, let's do a time check. Look at the screen. Look at the top left. 35 seconds between Will Power and Alexander Rossi. This reminds me so much of yesterday's IMSA Sports Car race, the WeatherTech Series, with Pippo Durrani, who was some 40 seconds back and just sliced time out of the lead and ultimately didn't get there. Let's see what Rossi can do here.
And I think that gap is going to update quite a bit because it doesn't factor in Power's pit stop. So let's see what happens across the line. 35 should be more down around 18 seconds. Let's find out.
Okay, Alex, good job. We need to keep fuel at 96. 96.
16 seconds.
There it is.
16 seconds.
I think Rossi can win this race.
It's going to be close, guys. We saw a gap of sometimes 3 seconds.
And James, now the sun's out. Track temp's going up. Who does that disadvantage? Will Power.
It sure does. And we heard a fuel call from Alexander Rossi's team. We need to keep fuel at 96. That's a pretty small savings. That doesn't take a lot, but it also means he can't be too greedy with that push to pass button because that does really increase your fuel consumption.
Chunks of time are coming out of Will Power's lead. 16 seconds is now 12.6. Rossi was significantly quicker the last lap. So here we go.
And let's take a look at what might have hurt Will Power's lap times, or at least this lap time, as the right front gets locked up as he's passing Devlin DiFrancesco into turn 3. Not much of a time loss there, James. He did a good job to keep that tire rolling.
That was about as beautiful a job of threshold braking as you could do.
But if it's tolerable now in 5 to 10 laps, call it 10 laps for Will Power, he is going to be hanging on to this race car. Track temp now 94 degrees. He looks good, but further up the road once again is Jack Harvey. Harvey's last lap time a 19.1, Power's an 18.4. I think we're starting to get into the point of the red tire phase, the crossover phase. And for Power, Harvey's on the harder black tire. He should have better grip to try to stay ahead of Power and try to stay on that lead lap in case the yellow comes out. So there's Power.
I mean, that gap sat at about 12, 13 seconds for a while there. In the last lap and a half, it's down to 10.5, and he hasn't even really caught up to Jack Harvey and the dirty air coming off the back of that high V car. So this is going to be interesting. Now we're going to see the bit between Alexander Rossi's teeth.
And that is the crossover point, because now Power is a second a lap slower than he was 2 laps ago, and he's had nobody in front of him. That whole lap has been clean air. Folks, we're starting to see exactly what we predicted. Power's going to have to hang on desperately for this finish with cars on the lead lap fighting to stay on the lead lap in front of him. 5 laps to go, and this is a problem now for Power. He's in the dirty air of Jack Harvey. He's relying more on the mechanical grip, which he doesn't have from the softer tires. Does Harvey let him go? Jimmy Johnson moves out of the way, but Johnson is a lap down. Harvey still on the lead lap. Marty, what do you hear? What do you know?
And that's the point. Will Power just asked, can you help me please with the 45? They said he's on the lead lap. There's nothing we can do about it. So Harvey does not have to move out of the way. So that relationship you mentioned, Hinch, we're going to see it tested right here.
Yeah, as Townsend said, there's about to be one. Even if it's been a pretty ambivalent one up to this point, this could be a bit of a game changer.
7.7 seconds now. Chunks of time are coming out of Will Power's lead.
And it's really tough to explain how much grip you lose in that dirty air. So much downforce comes off the car when you're running in the wake of another Indy car, and that just means you're working those tires that much harder, and Will Power doesn't have the tire to give away.
He had nothing to give, James. Nothing to give right now. He's got to just try to hang on and figure out how to manage this. And if you're the box for Will Power, you're running the math. Okay, 4 to go at the line here. Can they just afford to lay low and just hang in the back of Harvey right now? How quickly is Rossi going to charge?
I think he can. Look at that. It's gone back up to 8 seconds. Now the pendulum is swinging back in the favor of Will Power.
That's because Rossi had to clear Jimmy Johnson, and he's now past Jimmy Johnson. So with 4 to go, Rossi needs to make up 2 seconds per lap. Will Power's last lap time a 19.1. Rossi at 18.9 with traffic.
Will Power is entering that zone.
17.6.
Yeah, 6.5 now is the gap. 6.5 seconds. Will Power's tires are wearing out. If
Minus
not
6
worn
plus
out.
3.
And
Here comes Rossi.
I think now Power's trying to decide, maybe I need to charge here and really try to get past Harvey. I think Power's a little unsure. How do you play this?
I can't help but think back to Alexander Rossi getting stuck in lap traffic as Will Power was on his out lap from that final stint. How many seconds did he lose while Will was trying to get up to speed? Because it's going to be a small margin by the time we get to the checkered flag here. I just don't think he's got enough time. I think Will's being very smart, staying just far enough back from Jack Harvey to not wear his tires out too much. He knows he's got a bit of a buffer, 6 seconds with only 2.5 laps to go. That's not a terrible position to be in.
Well, let's see how close Rossi is now. Now under 6 seconds,
Help down
5.9.
What did Power just say?
I bet he's
Help me out
complaining.
here.
I bet he's complaining. Help me out with Jack Harvey.
I'll tell you, there's no help to be given, bud. Just keep your head down.
His wife Liz with her
go.
trademark
Nickel.
squashed water bottle. 2 laps to go from here for Will Power in the Verizon 5G Chevy.
He's asking for help. He's not going to get it from the 45, but he doesn't need it. He just needs to keep his head down.
Oh, Santino Ferrucci, he's a lap down. He's going to let Power go, but Harvey not going to give up.
4.9 seconds inside the last 2 laps.
And this isn't anything malicious on Jack's part. No dirty deeds being played here. This is just Jack racing as he's allowed to. He's still on the lead lap. Santino doing a good job moving over, staying out of the fight.
One thing I would say at this point is if a yellow did come out, it would finish under yellow. So what does Harvey have to gain at this point? Harvey is what? About 12 seconds, 16 seconds behind Lundgaard, his teammate, up the road.
We got to talk to the captain when we were just about to do the pre-race show, Roger Penske, Bud Denker, the whole group. They have poured $20 million into Detroit's Belle Isle over the years. They have improved this place for the citizens of the city of Detroit, and that's the legacy that they leave. So maybe, just maybe, it would be appropriate and very fitting that one of Roger's drivers would win on the last possible time.
It'll be 1 to go at the line and 3.2 to go. Rossi to Power, now 2.8.
Oh,
White flag is at the ready for Will Power. 2.35 miles to go for Power.
And now you can see Power and Rossi almost on the same straightaway together. Power coming through turn 2 on the long straightaway to 3. You'll see Will Power
There's
just
Rossi
behind Ferrucci. Here comes Rossi.
This would need to be the most spectacular last lap you've ever seen. Down into turn 3.
Okay, that's the leader in front of you.
That's the leader in front of you. Go get him. Andretti Autosport says, Brian Barnhart says to Alexander Rossi, is it doable?
so agonizingly close for Alexander Rossi. He can smell the fumes off the back of that number 12 Verizon Chevrolet, but it might not be enough. Lots of push to pass in favor of Will Power.
He's got power, but he doesn't have much grip left.
There he is. They're running out of corners. This is not over yet. Alexander Rossi, who hasn't won in 43 races, Road America 2019. Can the Andretti driver do it in that Napa Auto Parts Auto Nation machine? He can see it. He can taste it. It's right there. He's just got to get the Verizon Chevy driver.
That carrot, I think, is just out of reach, James, as they come to the line.
Out of turn 13, out of turn 14, the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix, the last one at Belle Isle, is won by Will Power. How about that? Chase all the way home.
Yes. Oh, God.
Power wins.
Boys, redemption.
We did it, and redemption, and his brother Damien and wife, his mother-in-law, everybody's there to celebrate. And that completes the Penske win list in 2022. His brother's stressed. A man who earns his career and his money making other people laugh. He's not laughing. That was stressful. Rinus VeeKay into the tire bundle on the very last lap. 1 second, guys, was the winning margin. 1 single second is what Power won by.
Well, when I asked you pre-race and said, how are you going to get from mid-pack here to the front, you said it's going to be a lot of hard work, but how hard did you have to work on that final stint on the alternate tires?
I drove it as straight as I could. Never put any slip in it. I was just driving it really straight and really nice on the brakes, on the throttle, and I knew that if I could keep a reasonable gap to the end, we'd be okay, but I was a bit worried because I saw how badly they died, but there's a lot more rubber on the track at the end. Man, stellar job by the team, and a very enjoyable race because you had to like chop through the field and then fight hard, some good passing, and really stoked to get the Verizon 5G Chevy in victory lane, man. It's redemption from last year. I was just waiting for something to happen on his last 10 laps, but just stayed laser focused.
Watch the Sanzio Grand Prix at Road America Sunday, June 12th at 12:30 p.m. on NBC.